Thank you, Speaker. My question is to the Premier. This week, the Premier has refused to answer serious questions about the big build, including why the government has failed to ensure the safety of women on construction sites, whether certain individuals are employed on big build sites despite failing to attend them, how long the Premier has been aware of bikies on big build sites, why bikies are still profiting from the big build sites after almost a decade, why the Premier has failed to stamp out corruption, and how much of the $50 billion in blowouts is caused by organised crime on big build sites. As the Premier has been unable to answer these questions, why won't she call a royal commission so Victorians can get the answers they deserve?
Leader of the Nationals. Member for Cranbourne. Premier.
Well, Speaker, I thank the member for Nepean for his question. I genuinely do thank the member for Nepean for his question because it gives me an opportunity to give the same answer I gave to this question yesterday when I was asked yesterday about a royal commission on this matter. I know the member for Nepean was ejected from the chamber this week, so he might have missed that this was a question that has been already asked in this House this week. But I will be delighted to answer it again, Speaker. But I think we all now know why the Leader of the Opposition didn't ask this question, because he was here and he knows that this is something that the House has already addressed over the course of this week. So on the indulgence for the rest of my colleagues, I'll direct this answer directly to the member for Nepean, for the benefit, for the personal briefing that the member for Nepean has clearly asked for through his question.
Leader of the House. Member for Nepean on a point of order.
On a point of order, Speaker, standing orders require the Premier to be direct, and we're a minute into her answer and she hasn't gone anywhere near answering the question.
Member, Premier will come back to the question.
Well, Speaker, thank you. And I have previously been direct on this answer this week, so I will repeat it again, Speaker. In terms of the question about a royal commission, my focus is on taking the action now that needs to be taken to stamp out the rotten culture. And as I've answered previously in this House, over the course of this week, I have outlined the range of actions that have been taken. Also, too,
Leader of the Nationals.
We have seen previously here in this country, a number of years ago, that a royal commission was held into these matters. It took 2 years, and all it resulted in was 5 failed criminal investigations, Speaker.
Manager of Opposition Business.
What I'm focused on is supporting the work that the federal government, through its administrator, is taking now, the work we need to take here in Victoria, which I've outlined previous to the House,
Manager of Opposition
than something
Business.
that would take years and not achieve focusing on the issue now, because I have zero tolerance for this behaviour, which is why we are taking the actions immediately.
Hear, hear.
Member for Nepean on a supplementary question.
Why does the Premier continue to spout rhetoric about protecting women and workers while running a protection racket for bikies and organised crime that have infiltrated Victoria's big build sites?
Premier. Without assistance.
Well, Speaker, I absolutely reject the premise and the frame of this question. I am proud to have been part of a government and a Labor movement. The reason why unions have such an important role on work sites around this country is because of its focus on worker safety, protecting the rights and safety of workers.
Leader of the Nationals.
Whether they're on construction sites, whether they're in hospitals.
Order. I'd ask members at the table to cease the commentary across the table. Manager of Opposition Business on a point of order.
Speaker, the Premier is required to be factual, and the facts of the matter are that women and workers are being bullied, intimidated and harassed on government work sites. I ask you to ask the Premier to be factual.
Ask the Premier to come back to the question.
Speaker, I was clearly rejecting the imputation that we are absolutely 100% committed to supporting safe workplaces for all people, but particularly including women. And women on work sites deserve the best of union representation. The best of union representation, which is why we are working with the federal government, with the administrator to stamp out this rotten culture.
On a minister's statement, I call the Premier.
Thank you, Speaker. Well, Speaker, here in Victoria there has never been a better time to go out and catch a fish or be a boater here in this state. And that's one of the reasons, if you love catching fish, it's one of the reasons why we've stocked 66 million fish and also made it cheaper and easier for Victorian families. They might like to cast a line or they might like to get out on the water cruising around one of our fabulous waterways. To support this work, we've abolished fees across all of Victoria's 415 public boat ramps. Do you know what this does, Speaker? It doesn't just help make it easier for people to get out on the water. It also means that they can save their money and they might have a bit more money to spend on some bait and tackle or maybe even buying a cocktail from the ship's bar. It's all extra money in people's pockets, Speaker. Also, too, right across the state, we've built and upgraded new platforms, boat.
On a point of order, Manager of Opposition.
The Premier is required to be factual. She's sacked so many workers from the Victorian fisheries.
You will resume your seat, Manager of Opposition Business. Premier to continue. Minister.
Touchy much.
Premier.
And Speaker, of course, we know that 1 in 10 Victorians like participate in boating. They like participating in boating right here in Victoria, Speaker. And also too, thanks to our Better Boating Fund, $100 million of Victorian licensing fees have been invested back into facilities. Means it's a great opportunity to go and drop an anchor in Queenscliff, not in Queensland, in Queenscliff. That's a fantastic opportunity, Speaker. Also in St Leonards, in Inverloch, in Echuca. Cheerio to the former leader of the National Party. We could support investments in Echuca, Lake Boga, Clifton Springs, Warrnambool and so many more. We're making these investments, Speaker, because we know Victorians love getting out on the water. They love getting out on a boat, dropping a line and supporting our great Victorian-based industries. And that's why, whether you're a fisher or a boater, you've got our government's support.